There we go. Hello. Gonna do an episode of Summary Judgment. It's been a little bit since I've done one of these. I may try to make a push here in the next few weeks, question mark? Next few short period of time, or whatever period of time I decide, to continue going through all of the Wave 1 heroes for Judgment, as Wave 2 is starting to, well, it's not starting to roll out, but we should be in the next, toward the end of this month and next month, I think everything's going to start shipping out, so we will have a whole bunch more stuff to talk about with that. And I did manage to get a game in. I will hopefully get another game in tomorrow, actually. We'll see, but I'm hoping that I do. And or two, possibly. We'll see. And so I want to go, but I'll be talking more about like compositions and like ideas behind warbands and stuff. But I want to get some more play to do that. In the meantime, though, what I want to talk about is just the heroes and like some of what I've seen of synergies and like what the rules are. So if you watch my channel and you're excited about playing the game or knowing more about the game, this is the way that you can do that. So just tweak this a smidge. So today I'm going to talk about Bastian Oriel. I believe that's how I would say his last name. He is a human lore keeper. Just keep in mind, as I talk through, I did put a link to the print and play section in the show notes, so you can go there and get a look at the cards and follow along. There's also the two apps. There's one for iOS and Android, so you can follow along in there easily as well. Bastian Oriel, so just keep in mind, next thing to keep in mind is when I say things like lore keeper, that has zero game, currently at the very least, has zero game implications whatsoever. It's just for fluff to sort of give you an idea of what type of character that he is. But the part that is important is that he's human, which occasionally does matter for certain rules interactions. And also that he's a support, which is his classification. So he's a supporter. I think when I last reviewed, we actually did have another supporter in Piper, but Piper has actually been reclassified as a hybrid as of this. So nothing else really has changed about him, though. They just wanted to identify him more appropriately. So anyways, Bastian's a supporter. He has a movement of 4 and agility of 4. He has no resilience. He has a melee of 5. He has a soul harvest of 5. That's going to be pretty important. He has 1 melee attack. It's a staff. It is a 1 action attack. It has a 3-inch range. And his glance is 1, his solid is 2, and his crit is 4. At level 1, he has 14 hit points. Gaining a single hit point at level 2 and another single hit point at level 3. His level 1 abilities, to start with, he has an innate ability called Heroic Ballad, which is, while within 4 inches of this model, other friendly models gain +1 attack dice while resolving a melee attack. Additionally, he has a handful of active abilities. He has one called Calming Waters, costs a single action. You can remove 1 condition from target-friendly model within 4 inches. Conditions are things like knockdown, stun, poison, fire, etc. Curse. I think that's all of them. He has an active ability called Planewalker, which is 2 actions. Target a friendly model within 12 inches, and Bastian is immediately placed base to base with the friendly model. So this is a placement effect. It will ignore any sort of terrain penalties and any sort of terrain penalties and any sort of parting blows and things like that won't apply to this because it's a placement effect. And then finally, his fate ability, which is Prayer of Health, which costs both an action and a fate, and you will heal target friendly model within 4 inches for D6 plus 3 health points. So that's a pretty substantial heal. I'd have to double check, but I think it's the highest potential heal in the game. Of course, you can always spend a fate and an action to heal yourself for 5, but this is additional. This healing is in addition to that. If he reaches level 2, he gains another active ability called Enhanced Magic, which target friendly model within 4 inches gains double the numerical bonus to statistics from magical artifacts it carries. Enhanced Magic expires at the start of this model's next activation. And finally, at level 3, he gains Time Bender, which costs a single fate. Target friendly model within 4 inches. If that model reaches 0 health, it is immediately placed base to base with its effigy on 1 health, and its soul is not harvested. When Time Bender expires, then Time Bender expires. Otherwise, Time Bender expires at the start of this model's next activation. And then just for some clarity, specifies that Calming Waters can also remove knockdown condition. I'm not sure why they thought they needed to specify that here, but it does. Enhanced Magic says it can target himself. Reminds us that Prayer of Healing can target himself. And Time Bender says that he's able to use it on himself, and any conditions that were on the target model when it reached 0 health are removed. The souls that were bound to the hero remain bound to the hero, and the hero does not lose an action in its next activation. So it's just clarifying some of what Time Bender does. I'm actually not clear on reading this if the model that would have killed him would level. I don't believe so. I think you actually have to destroy the model, and I think there was some cleanup to the rules that was around the timing of the destruction of models, or the death of a model, or whatever you want to call it. So, anyways, that's his baseline abilities. But real quick, let's just talk about a little bit of what, I'm not going to get super deep into list construction with this guy, but we'll talk a little bit about his pros and cons, basically. So obviously, as you can see, he's clearly got he's called a supporter, and he is. His melee ability is absolutely nothing to write home about on its own. I can't talk, which is odd when you're doing a show where you're only talking. He has a whole host of active abilities that are going to be there to help enable your warband in some way or another. I would say the most prominent one to talk about is Heroic Ballad. He is basically a walking Vorpal Blade, right? But he can theoretically affect more than just himself. So anybody who can generate a large number of attacks, or who just really likes being able, who's a significant melee threat, is going to like pairing up with Bastian. And he certainly doesn't have on his own the most survivability, so you're going to want to be careful with your positioning. You're also going to want to be careful with who you bring with him. You may want somebody who can help keep him alive in the defender sense, right? Or you want to be very careful with your positioning. The things that may not stick out at initially also is that his staff being 3-inch range is certainly no mistake, right? And that is sort of one of the most ridiculous things to see in this game, that 3 inches is kind of the cutoff for where melee happens, and we haven't gotten to any characters, but there are some that have range attacks that are at 4 inches. So this guy has a melee attack that's pushing the line of being a ranged attack. But what's relevant about it, obviously it doesn't hit that hard, right? He's got a melee of 5, and its glance is 1, 2, and if he does manage to get a crit, it's 4. But what matters is he's further enhancing the melee prowess of certain characters by not only is he able to give the +1 to attack, but he also will frequently be able to contribute to the attack by just being within 3 inches. And he can also do some pretty substantial things with that 3-inch with just a single push here and there. So when you need to reposition something. So definitely don't write off the fact his melee is not great, but it is there and it does serve a purpose. And that's something as you play this game you're definitely gonna see. He does pair up. Obviously, any melee aggressor is going to like him. In general, some of the melee oriented. Actually, I think all of them are melee-oriented. Defenders are also going to like him. Skull, in particular, has been identified as a pretty solid combo with Bastian, in that he can give Bastian Bulwark if he needs to for survivability. Bastian has the heal effect to keep him up and active, but then and also being able to give Skull the extra +2 on its own, and you could theoretically throw in the Vorpal Blade if you so chose. 2 attack rolls means that now your tank actually is able to put a pretty significant amount of damage out on targets, because Skull can make 4 to 6 attacks on a lot of turns, just due to how because he has the 2 heads rule. We kind of talked about in the last in the video where we reviewed Skull. I may have talked about this in that video too. It's been long enough. I'm blanking a little bit, so apologies there. So that's a combination with him, but really, as I said, like any of the melee aggressors are going to be good. He also can sort of shine with somebody like Piper, right? So I mentioned before, Piper really wants somebody who can go in and help him sort of tag team on a model. And Bastian's a great option for that, because he has the things I just mentioned, the 3-inch reach, the heroic ballad, and now you've got a really accurate Piper potentially. And then you've got the healing from Bastian, and the other support features as well that will help keep them standing. And then the remaining notable thing about Bastian is he also sort of fits where at Soul Harvest of 5, he's able to occupy almost the Soul Harvester, Soul Gazer, role, just because 5 is pretty high, right? So on his own, he can harvest a soul at the 7, which is above it's whatever it is, 58% likelihood on 2d6. But once you can, if you can bring pardon me, if you can bring a friend or two to help you harvest that soul, now you're up to the 6. And if you can hold back a fate a lot of times for a reroll, he's actually pretty reliable at being able to harvest souls. And things like this are going to be important as you're generating your warband, because in a game of 3v3, you're going to have 5 heroes, and in a game of 5v5, you're going to have 7 heroes in your thing, right? And out of, let's look at the 3v3 for a minute. Out of the 5 that you're going to have there, you're generally going to need to have somebody who occupies the defender role, somebody who can occupy the aggressor role, and then you have 3 more spots, right? So you can go with the soul, say you can go with the Soul Gazer. You're probably not going to be able to afford to have a second Soul Gazer out of those 5. You're going to need somebody else who can lock down. You need another defender, you're going to need another aggressor, or something like that. So having Bastian be one of your remaining heroes will allow you to have more flexibility in your warband of 5, so that when it comes time to play the game, and if your Soul Gazer gets banned, now you can bring in let's say real quick, I'll just put a sample warband together. Let's say you've got Bastian, Cruel, Skull, so that's 3, Thorgar, and I need one more. I don't know, we'll say Piper. Right, so now with this warband, if they go ahead and ban Cruel out, you can go with your Bastian Skull combo, where you still will be covered on soul harvesting, right, as well as some other things. And if they ban your aggressor out, I use Piper there. That's not really relevant to this talk, but Skull, then he's supporting Skull, maybe gets enough damage there, Piper there, So Bastian's the supporters, as we talk about them, we're going to see the supporters and the hybrids are sort of the models you're going to want to be looking at to fill multiple gaps where they maybe don't excel, but they are solid, and they're going to be the thing that rounds out your warband. So in short, that's Bastian. I would say one of the other nice things about him is he's not overly fate hungry. He can pretty much do what he does most turns without spending fate, other than if he needs to get a heal out there. But I would say he's going to need to do that, maybe once a game, depending on how the game goes. I mean, you can get more or less value out of it, of course. I've never had a game position such that I was too concerned about his level 2 and 3 abilities, but they do have a lot of, his level 3 especially has a lot of unique play. The level 2 one's a little bit trickier to use because usually you're going to end up having to move to get his other bonuses, and those are more valuable than the one double numerical bonus. So anyways, that is Bastian. Hopefully this video gave you a little bit of information on what he does and how to play him. And like I said, be looking for more videos as I'm going to try to work my way through most of Wave 1 here nowish, and as we get ready for Wave 2 to come on. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to hit me up on the video. You're welcome to use the Full Circle Discord and or Facebook to talk about Judgment as well. There's also a Judgment Discord. You can find the link in the Judgmental group, I think, on Facebook. If not, just message me anywhere, and I can get it for you, I believe. So thanks for watching.